So what's going on with the housing situation in Vegas for both homeowners and renters? Should you move here? Should you buy a house here? Is the rents going to go down? These are all questions I get in live streams I've been doing lately because we're all locked up. And speaking of live streams, this is the perfect time to tell you that I'll be on the Strip tonight, 7 p.m. West Coast time, Pacific Standard Time, going down and looking at the empty Las Vegas Strip. So I'll be live streaming that. You might want to tune in. But a lot of questions regarding, should you buy a house here? Are the housing prices going to go down? Are the rents going to go down? What's happening? So my name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. If this video serves you well and you like me or you like what I have to say, you might want to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and tell me, do you worry about the housing market where you are? Do you think it's going to be harder to pay your bills? Do you think that it's going to be cheaper to buy a house wherever you might be? Or do you think that all those doomsayers that were making videos for clicks about 6 months ago saying Vegas in 2020 is going to crash, do you think they were right? Obviously, nobody could have predicted the situation we're in, but I see some of my contemporaries with their most popular videos being predicting the doom and gloom, because that's an emotional trigger that I try not to pull on you guys. Just so you know, there's some emotional triggers you can pull on people. And you know what? You can talk about doom and gloom. You can talk about resort fees. I could do those videos all day long, but I know they're going to get responses, but it's not fair because they're oftentimes not well placed. This video right now is well placed. So we're going to talk about the rental situation and what I think is going to happen when it comes to possible outcomes for the homeowner situation and what the price values in Las Vegas are going to be. And a lot of it has something to do with what's happening outside of Las Vegas more than what's happening inside of Las Vegas, but they all tie together neatly in a package once we're done. So first of all, as I have mentioned, rentals. So we talk about rentals, we talk about renters in Las Vegas. Now, what most people don't know, and I experienced this hardcore, is that this is one of the most easiest states to get evicted from in the entire country. I mean, it's been a very, very pro-business state for a long time. It favors landowners. It doesn't favor the renter as much. Some states in this country, you can basically not pay your rent for months on end and not be kicked out. But here, if you don't pay your rent on the day that it's due on your lease, they can post a notice up on your door telling you that they've notified the county and that you have 5 days to pay your rent or quit, as in leave, move out. You don't get to stay here any longer. And of course, you can go to the courts. You can tell the courts I have a specific situation. I can't leave my house right now. And some of those situations could be like you have somebody over the age of 60 in your household. You have a person with a permanent disability in your household. Or, you know what, I lost my job because my company went completely belly up and screwed me on all of my money. And then the courts will come back and say, well, you know what, Mr. Landowner, Mr. Property owner, this person has an extra 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever. But this is not the same situation. This is, of course, an extraordinary time in the history of our world. And so right now, you can't really get evicted if you have not paid your rent. I mean, you can, I'm sure, and there's certain situations that are outliers. But right now, after what the governor did by declaring an emergency, it seems like it's going to be harder to evict people. But it still means that you need to pay your rent. But then what's going to happen to the rental prices in Las Vegas? Well, it's all going to be kind of dependent on what happens with the home prices and the situation with people living here. Now, I suspect that until the whole entire country is safe or large portions of it are better, people are not going to be leaving Las Vegas in droves like they were in the past. And when people left Las Vegas in 2008, there was not a lot of renters. So the property owners had to respond accordingly and lower the rental prices. Because if you have more places to live in than people that want to live in them, the price per square foot goes down. Until that happens, I don't suspect the price on the square footage is going to go down because everybody's kind of under the stay-in-place order, as you know. Nobody's really going to another part of the country because it's so much better or the housing is so much cheaper. It might be better, the housing might be cheaper, but what are you going to do once you get there? And we're pretty much in the same boat together. So I don't foresee the prices on rentals dropping anytime soon, but that could happen after the second thing we're going to talk about, which is the real estate prices in Vegas. Now, I've alluded in videos, live streams that I've done, and by the way, the sun is in my eyes, and that's really bright this morning, so I'm trying not to squint at you. I've alluded to the fact that what happens on housing prices in Vegas right now is going to be largely dependent on other parts of the country. And I've already had people that have told me in comments and on my live streams and emails and stuff that, you know what, Major problem. I had somebody put in an offer on my place and they pulled that money right out. And somebody else said, I had the same situation. My house isn't even in Las Vegas. My house is up in Oregon, and it's in a nice part of Oregon. And they had an offer put in for the price I was asking, full price, right? Just like it was 3-4 months ago. And they pull that offer right out. And my explanation to that is, look, if you were a person with $50,000 or $60,000 to put a 10 or 20% down payment on a house, if you're not using any kind of housing assistance program, would you rather take that money right now and spend it on a house when you don't know what the housing values are going to be in 6 to 8 months? Or would you rather take that money and sit on it or invest it in something like cheap stocks because the stock market was really, really low? So that might be a reason why they're pulling their offers back. But again, and I had this conversation with somebody on my Patreon. And by the way, you can go on my Patreon if you guys want to be in the credits of this video, or if you guys want to see the videos I can't put on YouTube because they would punish my channel and I'd not be able to do live streams and stuff like that because the topics are not YouTube friendly. I was talking to one person and I said, I think what it really is going to rely on is the fact that whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, like the old slogan used to be, but what happens outside the country directly affects Vegas. So I'm going to set this up for you this way. Right now, we have all these different mortgage companies, FHA programs, and private lenders who are working with people saying, yes, we know everybody's furloughed, everybody's out of work, 3 million unemployment claims, 3.3 million in the last week and a half alone. You don't have to pay your mortgage for right now. The main problem in Vegas becomes this, okay? Follow me here. If people in Vegas don't have to pay their mortgage because, everybody's getting some relief. And if you work at a casino, and if the casino does open up in a few weeks, like I think it will, and if there's not a lot of people here because people are coming here from other places, but the whole entire country has to get back to work, and the whole entire country is taking their mortgages and sitting on them and not having to pay their mortgages, but then they go back to work and the mortgage relief is over and everybody has to pay 2.5 times their mortgage real fast, those people might not travel to Las Vegas. So that guy in Ohio that has a pretty good job, but he has to work extra hard in order to get caught up on his mortgage, might not come to Vegas. So we have this kind of like it's kind of like a slingshot effect, if you will. So we have people that can't come to Vegas for a while. That means that people in Vegas might not get rehired back for a while, or they might not be on full-time hours for a while. If they don't get hired back because that person that's thousands of miles away can't come to Vegas because they're playing catch up on their mortgages and their rents, that means that person here could be sitting on 2.5, if not 3 different payments on their mortgage that they have to make. If that happens, then they're going to be in a situation where they may end up defaulting on their mortgage. So if you're in a neighborhood and everybody on the whole entire block is paying their bills, and you have 10 different neighbors on the block where your house sits, and then 3 of those people can't pay their bills because they don't go back to work, they don't get full-time hours, and oh no, I have to default on my mortgage. They default on the mortgage, the house falls into foreclosure. The house falls into foreclosure. Another 2 houses fall into foreclosure over here. A few miles over there, 1 house falls into foreclosure. The realtor comes along and he pulls up the comps for the next person that wants to buy a house. But because of these foreclosure homes, the house value now is reduced for everybody in the neighborhood. Now the housing values are down. 10, 20, 30% I'm hearing from different sources and realtors that I've talked to. So that could cause a black hole where this person in Florida or this person in New York State or this person in California that would have traveled to Vegas, these people can't come to Vegas because they're playing catch up on their back mortgages due. And then the people that should be back to work full-time in Vegas can't come back to work full-time in Vegas, can't find another job because, there's not that many jobs once things close. They might not reopen. They can't pay their mortgage. And in Vegas, that causes the housing prices to fall if homes fall into foreclosure. And if that happens, we have a reduction in the overall price of a lot of neighborhoods in Las Vegas, if not the entire market, if it starts happening here, there, everywhere throughout the valley. So does that make sense to you guys? So is there a crash coming? I don't think there's a crash coming. If there were a crash coming, we would have been in a situation where the housing prices were super duper expensive and they were unrealistically expensive. And the reason we got into that point in the past was because they were giving away bad loans for people that really couldn't afford to pay them at all. Those loans were much different than what we have now. Yes, adjustable rate mortgages, which is what got us into the trouble in 2008, they still exist, but they're not used very often, and they're more or less reserved for people who want to get a quick loan so they can pull money and equity out of the house, pay less on it, and then sell the property and flip it at a profit really fast. And that's not for you or me in most cases anymore. Those are reserved for people that have real estate portfolios. So if the foreclosures start to hit, if the country opens back up and people start to move out of Las Vegas because now their house value is less or they're underwater and they just let it go, that could cause a big problem. And if that happens and people move out of Las Vegas, well, then you could have more houses available to rent, and that means that the rentals would drop, going back to the very first point that we made in this video. That's the best way to explain it. Now, the other scenario, which I totally hope happens, is that none of that happens, and the country gets back to work very quickly, and people see that the economy isn't as damaged as people think it was because, you know, the feds and the government took steps to try to keep large businesses working, and everybody's going to go back to work at Boeing, and they're going to make their $25, $35, $45 an hour, or their $65,000 per person per year, and people can still afford to come to Vegas. And since they've been locked up and since they've been cooped up for so long, what better place than Sin City to go and blow some money? So everybody goes back to work in the casinos and we avoid this entire situation and everybody is happy. And I hope that that's the case. I'm not a doom and gloomer. I'm not making videos for clickbait reasons so I can just go ahead and clickbait you to death and get those emotional triggers. That's not what I want to have happen. So those are the two scenarios that I think could happen. You tell me what you think is going to happen. If I'm completely unrealistic in the comments below, that's totally fine. You can find us over on Facebook. Facebook has got the Not Leaving Las Vegas group where we talk about this kind of stuff and you guys can interact over there. Or you can email me, or you can be in the credits on the Patreon, or you can get those extra videos. But just make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Do you think there's going to be a big problem in Las Vegas? Thanks for watching. My name's Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. I'm a full-time Vegas blogger. I hope that this has straightened a few things out. I don't have a crystal ball, but we have to look at things realistically. This is the part of the video where I say 3, 2, 1, and then click, and the credits roll. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1, and click.